Welcome back to The Quiet Drift. If you enjoy Willow's story, don't forget to subscribe to The Quiet Drift. You'll get a notification whenever a new episode is released.
June 7th, 2026.
The late afternoon sun, a generous wash of warm butter, spills over the western ridge of the cove, finding its way through the last gaps in the ancient trees. You watch as it lays a shimmering path across the water, a trembling, liquid gold that seems to ripple and breathe with the gentle sway of the tide. Each tiny wavelet catches the light, igniting for a fleeting instant before dissolving back into the deeper blues and greens beneath the surface. It's a quiet dance, a slow, unhurried unfurling of the day's final, most tender hours. The light climbs the Myra's weathered hull, warming the old wood, drawing out the subtle scent of salt and sun-baked timber. You can almost feel the wood sighing under its touch, a deep, contented breath. It catches the brass fittings on the cabin top, turning them into small, bright stars against the rich varnish. The combing gleams, and the rigging, usually a tangle of dark lines against the sky, now holds the light like spun thread, each strand defined and luminous. The mast itself seems to stretch higher, reaching for the last of the brilliance, its grain highlighted in tones of amber and ochre. Chester, curled in a perfect sun-drenched circle on the foredeck, has become a creature of pure light. His red-orange fur, usually so vivid, now seems to absorb and reflect the sun with an almost magical intensity, each individual hair a tiny filament of warmth. The white patch on his throat, a small cravat of softest snow, glows with an inner luminescence, a stark, pure contrast to the fiery blaze around it. His breathing is slow, almost imperceptible, his tail a soft curl tucked neatly against his side. He is an emblem of utter contentment, a small, furry anchor in the quiet drift of the afternoon. The air itself feels thick with the mingled scents of the cove. The sharp, clean tang of the salt water, carried on the gentlest of breezes, mixes with the deeper, sweeter perfume of the pines that crowd the headland. You can almost taste the resin in the air, a cool counterpoint to the warmth of the sun. Beneath it all, a faint, earthy aroma rises from the forest floor, a hint of damp soil and decaying leaves, a reminder of the rich, unseen life within the woods. It is a scent that speaks of enduring stillness, of ancient growth and quiet resilience. From the rigging, a soft, rhythmic asterisk clink 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 asterisk of halyards against the mast provides a gentle counterpoint to the silence. It's the voice of the Myra, a quiet whisper of her presence, a reassurance that she breathes with the same slow rhythm as the tide. You can almost hear the water lapping against the hull below, a subtle gurgling murmur that rises and falls with each passing ripple. It is a sound that has become a lullaby, a constant, comforting presence in this secluded world. Your gaze drifts towards the far rocks, where a solitary cormorant stands sentinel. Its silhouette is stark against the shimmering water, its long neck extended, its wings slightly spread to catch the last warmth of the sun. It is a figure of quiet contemplation, a dark, still point in the golden expanse. You watch as it remains perfectly motionless, a statue carved from shadow, a silent observer of the cove's slow descent into evening. It seems to embody the stillness that settles over everything here, a deep, abiding peace that permeates the very air. Inside the cabin, the light filters through the small portholes, painting soft rectangles on the varnished teak. The rich, warm tones of the wood seem to deepen, taking on an almost burnished quality. Dust motes, caught in the sunbeams, dance in slow, ethereal spirals, tiny, sparkling particles suspended in the stillness. Even the air within the cabin feels imbued with this quiet luminescence, a soft, diffused glow that promises a gentle transition into the lamplit hours. You find yourself settling onto the small folding chair on the dock, the smooth, weathered wood cool beneath your hands. The two clay pots, one with its fragrant lavender, the other with its spiky rosemary, seem to lean into the light, their greens and purples enriched by the sun's touch. The dock creaks softly under your weight, a low, contented groan that echoes the age and endurance of this quiet place. Your gaze follows the light as it slowly, inexorably begins its retreat, inching higher up the trees, shrinking from the water's surface, gathering itself for its final, brilliant farewell. The air, though still warm, begins to hold a faint, almost imperceptible chill, a promise of the evening to come. It's a gentle shift, a subtle change that registers more as a feeling than a distinct sensation. The long shadows of the trees stretch across the water, reaching like slow, probing fingers towards the Myra, towards the dock, towards the very spot where you sit. They are not menacing shadows, but rather soft, benevolent extensions of the forest, drawing the cove into its nightly embrace. A faint breeze stirs, rustling the leaves in the canopy above the headland. It's a sound like a whispered secret, a gentle sigh passing through the ancient boughs. You imagine the countless unseen lives stirring within the forest, the small creatures beginning their nocturnal rounds, the owls preparing for their silent hunt. Yet from your vantage point on the dock, all remains profoundly peaceful, a world held in a delicate balance between light and shadow, sound and silence. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the warmth of the sun wash over your face, feeling the gentle undulation of the water beneath the dock, a faint, almost imperceptible movement that connects you to the vast, unseen currents of the sea. The salt air fills your lungs, clean and invigorating, yet also deeply calming. There is a sense of belonging here, a profound connection to this quiet corner of the world, as if the very elements conspire to hold you in their soft embrace. When you open your eyes again, the light has softened further, taking on a more golden, almost amber hue. The reflections on the water are less intensely bright, more diffused, like spun honey. Chester stirs slightly, uncurling one paw, stretching it out languidly before tucking it back under his chin, a small, sleepy movement that speaks of deep comfort. He seems utterly attuned to the rhythms of the day, a creature living entirely in the present moment, asking for nothing more than the warmth of the sun and the quiet companionship of the cove. Your thoughts drift to Walter, to his quiet cottage nestled high on the headland. You wonder if he, too, is watching the sunset from his porch, perhaps with a cup of warm tea in his hands, his own gaze sweeping across the familiar landscape of the cove. You can almost picture him, his silhouette framed against the darkening sky, a timeless figure in this timeless place. He is a steadfast presence, a quiet anchor in the rhythm of your days here. The memory of the light on the island surfaces then, a faint flicker in your mind's eye. It was a brief, almost imperceptible glow, a curious punctuation mark in the deep darkness of previous nights. You had considered rowing out, letting the dinghy glide silently across the water, pulling yourself towards the small, wooded mass that sat like a forgotten gem in the mouth of the cove. But something had held you back, a quiet reluctance to disturb the profound stillness, to break the spell of the night. You had thought about asking Walter, letting the question form on your lips during one of his visits. He often came down in the late morning, sometimes bringing a small basket of fresh berries from his garden or a piece of kindling he'd split himself. His visits were always unhurried, marked by long silences punctuated by quiet observations about the weather, the tide, or the habits of the local birds. He possessed a deep, intuitive knowledge of this place, a wisdom that seemed to flow from the very stones and trees of the headland. But the moment had never quite felt right. The question about a light on a deserted island felt almost too mundane, too easily dismissed in the quiet profundity of his presence. And yet, it lingered, a soft, persistent curiosity, a gentle thread pulling at the edges of your awareness. It was not a concern, but rather a quiet wonder, a small, intriguing detail in the rich tapestry of the cove. You look towards the island now, a dark, brooding mass against the distant, fading light of the horizon. It seems perfectly still, utterly uninhabited, a place of quiet solitude. The trees on its slopes are dark, almost black, their forms softened by the gathering dusk. There is no hint of any light, no trace of human presence, just the wild, untamed beauty of nature's own design. Perhaps it was just a trick of the light, a play of shadows and moonbeams, or perhaps something else entirely. The thought is not unsettling, merely interesting, a small, unanswered question that adds a subtle layer to the quiet mysteries of this place. It is the kind of thought that might drift through your mind just before sleep, a gentle thread to follow into the deeper currents of unconsciousness. The sun has finally dipped below the horizon, leaving behind a sky of soft, lingering hues. The gold has given way to shades of peach and rose, bleeding into the deepening purples and blues overhead. The air is cooler now, carrying a distinct freshness that signals the approach of night. You rise from the dock chair, the wood creaking softly in protest, a small sound that echoes in the gathering stillness. Chester, as if sensing the shift in light, uncoils himself with a slow, deliberate stretch, his front paws extended, his back arched in a luxurious curve. He yawns a wide, pink cavern of a mouth before hopping lightly to his feet. He looks at you with his bright, intelligent eyes, a silent communication passing between you, a shared understanding of the day's slow wane. He then proceeds to rub his head against your leg, a soft, purring rumble emanating from his chest, a deep, resonant sound that vibrates through your skin. You reach down, stroking his warm, soft fur, feeling the steady thrum of his purr beneath your fingertips. His presence is a comfort, a gentle warmth in the coolness of the approaching evening. He is a creature of this place, wild and independent, yet deeply connected to the quiet rhythm of your life aboard the Myra. The cabin beckons, its small, warm interior a promise of lamplight and the gentle glow of the wood stove. You imagine the soft flickering of the oil lamps, casting dancing shadows on the teak walls, illuminating the worn spines of the books on the shelves. There will be the crackle and hiss of the fire, the comforting scent of wood smoke, the quiet ritual of preparing a simple meal. But for now, you linger on the dock, taking in these last, fading moments of twilight. The stars are beginning to prick through the deepening blue of the sky, tiny, distant pinpricks of light that seem to hold ancient secrets. The air is still, save for the faint lapping of the water against the hull and the soft whisper of the breeze through the trees. It is a moment of profound peace, a quiet embrace of the world as it prepares for sleep. The question of the light on the island still hovers, a gentle wisp in the quiet air. Perhaps tomorrow you will find the right moment to ask Walter, or perhaps the answer will simply reveal itself in the slow, unhurried unfolding of the days here, in the quiet drift of life in the cove. For now, there is only the deepening twilight, the soft purr of Chester against your leg, and the profound, peaceful silence of the world preparing for its long, gentle slumber. The last of the afternoon light, softened by a haze that has drifted in from the open sea, spills across the Myra's deck. It's a gentle, diffused glow, turning the weathered teak a warm, muted gold. You watch as Willow's hands, nimble and unhurried, begin the small, familiar rituals of the late afternoon. There is a quiet grace in her movements, each gesture a brushstroke in the canvas of her day. She sits on the edge of the cockpit combing, a coil of line resting in her lap. It's a heavy hawser, perhaps for an anchor or an extra mooring line, and it bears the marks of salt and sun. Her fingers, stained faintly with the earth tones of her paints, work with practiced ease. You notice the way she checks each strand for fraying, her thumbs running along the twisted fibers, discerning any weakness that might compromise its strength. It's a slow, almost unconscious examination, a testament to her deep respect for the tools that keep her safe and secure in this wild, beautiful place. As she coils the rope, a rhythmic, almost hypnotic motion, the sun catches the fine dust motes dancing in the air around her. They seem to swirl in time with her hands, tiny specks of light in the golden haze. The line itself, stiff from its time in the sun, slowly yields to her touch, forming neat, concentric circles. Each loop is laid precisely, one atop the other, a testament to order and preparedness. You can almost feel the smooth, slightly rough texture of the rope beneath your own fingers, the faint scent of hemp and sea salt that clings to it. Chester, ever the observer, is stretched out on the foredeck, a patch of warm wood beneath his belly. His eyes, half closed to amber slits, watch the gentle rise and fall of Willow's hands, his tail twitching occasionally, a slow, languid rhythm against the deck. He seems to be in perfect harmony with the unhurried pace of the afternoon, a silent, furry anchor in the quiet drift of time. When the line is coiled to her satisfaction, a perfect sculptural form, Willow places it carefully in the stern locker. The soft thud of the lid closing echoes briefly in the stillness. Her gaze then drifts to the two clay pots on the dock. The lavender, its delicate purple spikes swaying in the faintest of breezes, and the rosemary, a robust tangle of needle-like leaves, both thrive under her care. She retrieves a small, dented copper watering can from beneath the cockpit and fills it from a bucket of rainwater collected from the Myra's canvas awning. The act of watering is itself a small meditation. You watch as she pours the water slowly, allowing it to soak into the dry earth, a dark ring spreading around the base of each plant. The scent of damp earth rises, mingling with the herbal fragrance of the plants themselves, a fresh, green perfume against the ever-present tang of salt air. Her fingers brush gently against the lavender's petals, a fleeting caress. She notices a single bee, drowsy and slow in the cooling air, still clinging to a bloom, its fuzzy body vibrating almost imperceptibly. It's a small, precious detail, a sign of life's enduring presence in this secluded corner of the world. As the last of the water soaks in, Willow straightens, her gaze sweeping across the cove. The surface of the water is like polished steel, reflecting the soft, muted sky. A lone gull cries out, a plaintive, drawn-out sound that seems to hang in the air for a long moment before fading into silence. The distant murmur of the sea, a deep, resonant sigh, is the only other sound, a constant counterpoint to the quiet of the cove. With a soft sigh, Willow turns her attention inward, towards the galley. The Myra's interior, though small, feels warm and inviting in the fading light. She ducks through the companionway, the scent of seasoned wood and a faint whiff of last night's wood smoke greeting you. The oil lamp, still unlit, casts soft reflections on the varnished teak, each curve and grain brought into gentle relief. Her hands move to the small, cast-iron wood stove. It's a compact marvel, its black surface gleaming dully. She opens the small door, revealing the last embers of the morning fire, still glowing faintly amidst a bed of ash. With a small, brass-handled poker, she carefully stirs the embers, coaxing them back to life. A faint puff of smoke, smelling of cedar and salt, drifts up, quickly drawn into the stovepipe. She adds a few small pieces of kindling, dry and splintered, placing them gently over the glowing coals. The wood catches quickly, a tiny flame flickering to life, licking at the edges of the kindling. The sound of the fire beginning to crackle is a comforting presence, a counterpoint to the silence outside. Willow carefully places a larger piece of split cedar on top, the flame growing stronger, a warm orange glow emanating from the small grate. The air in the cabin, though not yet truly cold, holds the slight chill of evening, and the promise of the stove's warmth is a welcome one. While the fire establishes itself, Willow begins preparing her evening meal. Tonight, it will be simple. A small pot of lentils, slow-cooked with a few dried vegetables she keeps in a ceramic jar, and a piece of hearth bread she baked yesterday. She retrieves the copper pot from its hook, its surface polished to a warm gleam from years of use. Her hands move with a deliberate slowness as she measures the lentils into the pot, then fills it with water from a small earthenware jug. She slices a few dried carrots and a small onion, her knife making soft, rhythmic thuds on the wooden cutting board. The scent of onion, sharp and earthy, mingles with the subtle aroma of the developing fire. It's a sensory tapestry woven from the simplest elements, yet rich and satisfying. As she stirs the lentils, a small detail catches your eye, something you've seen countless times but never truly noticed until now. Above the galley counter, built into the curving hull of the Myra, is a small, shallow shelf where she keeps her most used spices in tiny, cork-stoppered glass bottles. Today, as her hand reaches for the bay leaves, you see it. On the underside of the shelf, almost hidden from view unless you are directly beneath it, is a faint, faded carving. It's not a deep cut, more like a casual scratch, made with something sharp, perhaps the tip of a knife or a nail. It forms a single, stylized wave, curling gently at its crest. It's an unassuming mark, easily overlooked, yet today it seems to draw your gaze, holding it captive. It isn't part of the boat's original joinery, nor does it look like something Willow would have added. It speaks of a different hand, a different time. A quiet wave etched into the wood, a secret whisper in the silent curves of the Myra's interior. You wonder if Willow has ever seen it, if she knows it's there. The knowledge of this small, hidden carving settles in the quiet space of your mind, a gentle ripple in the still waters of the moment. It's not a mystery that demands an answer, but rather a quiet curiosity, a subtle reminder of the layers of history that accumulate in cherished objects, in beloved places. Willow, oblivious to your observation, continues her preparations. She grates a small amount of dried cheese into a ceramic bowl, its sharp, salty aroma adding another layer to the evening's culinary symphony. She hums a low, tuneless melody as she works, a soft, almost imperceptible sound that seems to blend with the crackle of the fire and the distant murmur of the sea. The small, folding table in the cabin is set with one of her ceramic dishes, painted with delicate blue flowers, and a simple wooden spoon. A single oil lamp, its brass gleaming, is placed in the center, ready to be lit when the light outside truly fades. The light from the setting sun, now a deeper, richer gold, streams through the small portholes, painting long, soft shadows across the cabin floor. The rhythm of her movements is deeply calming, each action flowing seamlessly into the next. There is no haste, no wasted motion, just a quiet efficiency born of living in a small space and being deeply attuned to its needs. You feel the slow release of any tension, the quiet settling into the present moment. Chester, perhaps sensing the approaching meal, stretches languidly on the foredeck, then leaps down to the dock with a soft thud. He pads silently along the weathered planks, his tail held high, a confident, self-possessed creature. He pauses at the stern, gazing out towards the narrow channel, as if contemplating a final reconnaissance before the night truly descends. You watch as Willow places the copper pot of lentils onto the top of the wood stove, settling it into the warmest spot. The gentle hiss of the water beginning to warm is a quiet, reassuring sound. She stands for a moment, her hands resting on the edge of the galley counter, simply breathing in the rich tapestry of scents, the wood smoke, the cooking lentils, the faint, lingering aroma of the sea. Her gaze drifts to the small bookshelf built into the hull, her eyes scanning the spines of the well-worn books. She reaches out, her fingers tracing the title of a volume of poetry, a gentle, almost reverent touch. You sense a deep contentment within her, a profound peace that seems to radiate from her quiet presence. It's a feeling of being exactly where she is meant to be, surrounded by the simple, enduring comforts of her life. The thought of the faint, carved wave beneath the shelf returns, a gentle, insistent whisper. Who carved it? What did it mean to them? Was it a farewell, a promise, a simple mark of presence? The question hangs in the air, not demanding an immediate answer, but rather inviting a quiet contemplation, a soft wonder. Willow retrieves a small wooden box from a cupboard, its lid worn smooth by countless openings and closings. Inside, nestled amongst neatly folded cloths, is a small, leather-bound journal. She doesn't open it, but rather holds it for a moment, her thumb tracing the embossed design on its cover. Perhaps she will write in it later, by the light of the oil lamp, when the day's quiet reflections come to settle. The light outside is beginning to dim more noticeably now, the golden haze giving way to a softer, more ethereal twilight. The air grows cooler, and you can feel the subtle shift in temperature, the promise of evening's embrace. The distant call of the gull is replaced by the softer, more insistent chirping of crickets beginning their nightly chorus from the forested headland. Willow returns to the dock, carrying a small, flat stone she picked up earlier. It's a smooth, gray oval, worn perfectly by the ceaseless action of the waves. She takes a piece of soft cloth and begins to rub the stone, polishing its surface with slow, deliberate strokes. It's a simple, almost meditative act, one that seems to connect her to the very essence of this place. The stone begins to gleam, its natural patterns and subtle variations in color emerging with each pass of the cloth. As she polishes, her gaze wanders to the narrow channel that leads out to the open sea. The entrance is still visible, a darker cut against the fading sky, but beyond it, the horizon is becoming indistinct, dissolving into the gathering gloom. The murmur of the ocean feels a little closer now, a little more insistent, a constant reminder of the vastness that lies just beyond the cove's embrace. She thinks of the light she saw on the island last night, a fleeting spark in the darkness. It was a detail that had settled in her mind, a quiet question. She had planned to ask Walter about it, to see if he had ever mentioned anything about a light on the island. But then the day had flowed, unhurried, absorbing her in its gentle rhythms, and the thought had receded, waiting for the right moment to resurface. Now, as the sky deepens to a bruised purple, and the first faint stars begin to prick through the veil of twilight, the memory of that light returns. It wasn't a strong light, not like a lantern or a signal fire, but something softer, more ephemeral, like a glowing ember. It had appeared and then vanished, leaving only a lingering impression. She finishes polishing the stone, its surface now smooth and cool beneath her fingers. She holds it for a moment, feeling its weight, its quiet solidity. It's a small, perfect thing, a piece of the earth brought to quiet perfection by the hand of the sea. She places it gently on the rail of the Myra, where it catches the last vestiges of twilight, a silent sentinel for the coming night. The cabin, now warmed by the stove, beckons. The scent of cooking lentils is more pronounced, savory and comforting. Willow steps back inside, leaving the deepening twilight behind. She will light the oil lamp soon, bringing a warm, steady glow to the small space. She will eat her simple meal, and perhaps read a few pages of poetry, or simply sit by the stove, listening to the quiet sounds of the boat and the sea. But the question of the light on the island lingers, a soft, unasked query, and the small, carved wave beneath the galley shelf, a silent, hidden history, remains. She decided she would ask Walter tomorrow when she took her usual walk up the path to his cottage. Perhaps he would know, or perhaps he would simply offer one of his thoughtful silences, which often spoke more than words. The thought is a gentle thread, a soft promise for the coming day, as the Myra settles into the embrace of the quiet, gathering night. The afternoon light begins its slow, deliberate transformation, a painter's palette dissolving into deeper, richer hues across the canvas of the sky. You watch from the narrow channel that leads to the open sea, your gaze tracing the line where the distant horizon meets the water. The sun, a perfect, burnished coin, hangs low, casting a path of liquid gold across the rippling surface. This is the hour of transition, a quiet turning point in the day's long breath. A warmth still lingers in the air, a gentle memory of the day's sun, but you feel a subtle shift, a whisper of coolness beginning to descend from the forest-clad headland. The tall trees, dark sentinels on either side of the cove, seem to deepen in color, their greens absorbing the last of the direct light, becoming richer, more profound. Each needle and leaf catches a final glint before surrendering to shadow. The golden path on the water stretches from the horizon to the very mouth of the cove, a shimmering invitation. As the sun dips lower, that gold deepens, bleeding into a soft, fiery orange. The clouds, high and wispy, catch the light first, becoming edged with brilliant saffron, then tangerine. They drift like slow ships across the vast expanse, their undersides illuminated, while above them, the blue of the sky remains a pale, clear memory. You find yourself drawn to the bow of the Myra, stepping carefully onto the foredeck. The wood beneath your bare feet still holds a trace of the day's warmth, but the rigging overhead has begun to hum a different tune, a softer, more plaintive sigh in the cooling air. Chester, who had been curled in a sunbeam on the varnished teak of the cabin top, stretches languidly, a long, elegant arch of his orange body, before settling again, his eyes half closed, observing the shifting light with the same quiet attention you give it. The orange deepens, melting into shades of rose and tender pink. The entire western sky becomes a vast, gentle blush, reflected with perfect fidelity in the still waters of the cove. The surface, usually a shimmering tapestry of blues and greens, now holds the sky's fleeting artistry, a mirror reflecting the silent ballet above. The Myra at her mooring seems to float on a pool of colored light, her dark hull absorbing the last brilliance. You notice the subtle change in the air, no longer just a memory of warmth, but a distinct coolness beginning to spread, a soft, damp breath from the ocean. It carries with it the familiar scent of salt and kelp, mingled now with the earthy perfume of the forest as the trees begin to release their daytime heat. A lone gull cries out, a mournful sound that seems to underscore the quiet passing of the day. The pinks deepen, then slowly begin to fade, giving way to the purples of twilight. The sun has now dipped below the horizon, but its presence is still felt, painting the underside of the clouds with streaks of violet and indigo. The air grows cooler still, urging you to pull the wool shawl closer around your shoulders. The world seems to hold its breath, caught between the brilliance of day and the deep mystery of night. The trees on the headland, once green and vibrant, are now deep silhouettes against the fading sky, their jagged tops tracing an intricate pattern. The water in the cove, no longer reflecting the sun's direct light, takes on a deep, almost inky blue, broken only by the occasional ripple from a passing fish, or the gentle swell that nudges the Myra against her mooring lines. The sound of the water against the hull becomes more distinct, a soft, rhythmic lapping, a lullaby to the approaching night. You lean against the forestay, feeling the cool metal beneath your fingers, and watch as the last vestiges of pink drain from the sky. A profound sense of peace settles over you, a quiet gratitude for this daily ritual, this unhurried unfolding of time. There is no rush, no urgency, only the steady rhythm of the natural world. The first star appears, a tiny, brilliant pinprick in the vast, darkening canvas above the eastern ridge of the cove. It seems to hang there, impossibly bright, a harbinger of the celestial tapestry that will soon unfurl. You find yourself searching for others, and slowly, gently, they begin to emerge, faint at first, then growing in brilliance as the sky deepens further. The air is now distinctly cool, carrying a subtle dampness that hints at the morning fog that often rolls in from the sea. Chester, having satisfied himself with the shifting light, has now hopped down from the cabin top and rubbed against your legs, a soft purr vibrating through his body. You reach down to stroke his warm, soft fur, and he presses into your hand, a small, comforting weight. The sky is now a deep, velvety blue, a twilight that seems to stretch on forever, holding the promise of true night. The water in the cove has become a dark, reflective mirror, broken only by the faint silver trails of moonlight, as the moon, still a sliver in the sky, begins its slow ascent. The sounds of the day have receded, replaced by the gentle murmur of the wind through the pines, the distant hoot of an owl, and the constant, soothing lap of water against the hull. You feel the day drawing to a close, not with a sudden snap, but with a gradual, almost imperceptible softening. The edges of the world blur, the harsh lines of day dissolving into the gentle curves of dusk. The Myra settles deeper into the water, her timbers creaking softly, a living thing settling down for the night. The scent of wood smoke, faint but distinct, drifts down from Walter's cottage on the headland, a comforting reminder of another presence in this quiet world. It mingles with the salt and the pine, creating a unique perfume that is home. You linger on the foredeck, unwilling to break the spell of this moment, this liminal space between day and night. The stars are now numerous, scattered like diamonds across the deep blue expanse, each one a tiny beacon in the vastness. The air grows colder, a crisp, clean chill that sharpens the senses. You can feel the warmth of your breath as it mists faintly in the cool air. The world has narrowed, the focus drawn inward to the sounds of the cove, the feel of the wind, the quiet presence of Chester at your side. The distant sound of waves breaking on the outer shore, a soft, continuous sigh, reaches you, carried on the night air. It is a sound that speaks of vastness, of endless movement, and yet here in this sheltered cove, it is merely a gentle backdrop to the profound stillness. The Myra bobs almost imperceptibly, a steady, rhythmic motion that is deeply calming. As full dark finally arrives, it does so gently, like a soft blanket drawn over the world. The deep blue of the sky turns to black, a velvet canvas against which the stars now blaze with startling intensity. The moon, a crescent of silver, casts a faint, ethereal glow on the water, painting shimmering paths that seem to lead into the heart of the night. You stand there for a long moment, watching the transformation complete itself, feeling the last of the day's light fully surrender to the night. The air is cool, fresh, invigorating. The forest is a dark, murmuring presence, and the water a deep, mysterious mirror. Chester gives a soft yawn, then nudges your hand again, a gentle reminder that it is time to move, to turn inward, to the warmth and light of the cabin. The quiet question of the light on the island still lingers, a soft, unanswered thread, but for now it recedes into the gentle darkness, waiting for the morning. The last sliver of sun dips below the western horizon, painting the sky in fading streaks of lavender and rose, and a cool, soft gray begins to seep into the cove. You watch the light dwindle through the small portholes of the Myra, the water outside turning from a muted silver to an inky, unreflective black. The air grows noticeably cooler, carrying with it the briny scent of the low tide and the damp earth of the forest floor. A shiver runs through you, a subtle reminder that even in the gentlest days of early summer, the Pacific Northwest retains its cool embrace once the sun departs. You reach for the small brass oil lamp hanging from a hook near the galley, its wick already trimmed, the reservoir filled with clear, clean lamp oil. With a strike of a wooden match against its rough surface, a tiny flame sputters to life, then steadies, casting a warm, flickering glow that instantly transforms the small cabin. The amber warmth of the varnished teak walls deepens, swallowing the encroaching shadows and softening the edges of the world. The cabin breathes with a newfound intimacy, a cozy haven against the gathering dusk. The light catches the polished copper pots hanging above the small propane stove, making them gleam with a muted, burnished glow. The ceramic dishes with their delicate blue flowers, stacked neatly in a small rack, seem to blush in the lamplight. Shadows dance and sway with the gentle rocking of the boat, mimicking the movement of the water outside, creating a hypnotic rhythm that settles deep within you. Every surface, every curve of the hull, every familiar object takes on a new dimension in this soft, shifting light. Chester, who had been curled in a sunbeam on the foredeck until the last moment, appears silently at the companionway, a faint salty dampness clinging to his orange fur. He stretches luxuriously, paws splayed, tail twitching, before hopping down into the cabin with a soft thud. He weaves between your legs, a warm, purring presence, rubbing against your jeans with an insistent affection that you gently acknowledge with a stroke of your hand along his back. His purr, a deep rumble, vibrates through you, a comforting sound that is as much a part of the Myra as the creak of the hull and the whisper of the wind in the rigging. He then makes his way to his usual spot beside the wood stove, which, though cold now, still offers a sense of warmth and security. He curls into a tight ball, his eyes, two luminous pools in the dim light, watching you with an unblinking intensity before slowly drifting closed. The evening ritual unfolds with an unhurried grace. You move through the small space with an instinctive familiarity, your hands knowing the precise location of every item, every latch, every hook. It is a dance you have performed countless times, a quiet ballet of domesticity. You retrieve a ceramic mug from its hook and fill it with water from the small hand pump near the sink. The water, cool and fresh from the well Walter shares, splashes softly into the mug, a tiny symphony in the quiet cabin. You place it on the small propane burner and ignite the flame with a soft hiss, the blue circle of fire momentarily brighter than the oil lamp. While the water heats for your evening tea, you turn to the small larder built into the hull. You retrieve a loaf of homemade sourdough bread, its crust a golden brown, its scent subtly tangy. You slice it with a well-worn knife, the blade a familiar weight in your hand, each slice falling onto a small wooden board with a soft asterisk thwack asterisk. There is a bowl of lentil stew, simmered earlier in the day, its earthy aroma now mingling with the scent of the bread and the faint, sweet scent of lamp oil. You warm a generous portion of the stew in a small copper pot, stirring it gently with a wooden spoon, the rich, savory steam rising to warm your face. As the stew bubbles softly and the water for tea begins to hum, you glance around the cabin, your gaze lingering on the bookshelves built into the curved hull. They hold a varied collection of books, old novels with worn spines, volumes on celestial navigation, books of poetry, and a well-thumbed guide to the flora and fauna of the Pacific Northwest. In the lamplight, the titles are muted, the colors of the covers softened, but the presence of the books themselves is a quiet comfort, a promise of other worlds and other thoughts. You pour the hot water into your mug, adding a small spoon of dried chamomile flowers from a tin on the shelf. The delicate scent of chamomile unfurls, a calming aroma that whispers of sleep and tranquility. You carry your steaming mug, the bowl of lentil stew, and the plate of bread to the small folding table that serves as your dining area, your desk, and your creative space. You unfold it with a practiced motion, the hinges creaking softly, and settle onto the narrow bench seat, one hand resting on Chester's soft fur as he stirs slightly, letting out a soft rumble of contentment. You bow your head briefly, a silent prayer of gratitude for the warmth, the food, the shelter, and the quiet peace of the cove. The meal is simple but deeply satisfying, each bite of the hearty stew and the chewy bread a reminder of life's fundamental goodness. The hot tea warms you from the inside out, a gentle balm after the cool evening air. As you eat, your gaze drifts, as it often does, to the subtle details of the Myra, the boat that is both your home and your silent companion. You notice the way the lamplight picks out the grain in the teak, highlighting whorls and patterns you've seen 1,000 times, yet always find new to observe. Your eyes trace the curve of the hull above the berth, the way the planks are joined, a testament to craftsmanship from a bygone era. It's then that your gaze falls upon a small, almost imperceptible detail near the waterline, just above the bilge pump access panel. In the shifting lamplight, a faint etching emerges from the polished wood. It's a name scratched into the teak with something sharp, perhaps a knife or a nail, long ago. You've seen it before many times, but tonight, in the quiet intimacy of the lamplight, it seems to stand out with a particular clarity. The name isn't Myra. It's a different name, one you've never spoken aloud, a name that doesn't belong to your boat. You trace the faint, almost invisible letters with your finger. Serafina. You remember the first time you noticed it, months after you had made the Myra your home. You had been cleaning the bilge, meticulously wiping down every surface, and your fingers had brushed against the faint indentation. At the time, you had merely felt a fleeting curiosity, a passing wonder about who Serafina might have been, or what the name meant to the boat's previous owners. You had assumed it was a casual mark, a sentimental scribble. But tonight, it feels different. The letters seem more pronounced, imbued with a quiet resonance. You wonder about the hand that scratched it there, the story behind it. Was it a previous owner's beloved, a child? Or was it the boat's original name, perhaps, before it became the Myra? The thought sends a small shiver down your spine, not of fear, but of a gentle, almost reverent curiosity. You've always known there were other layers to the Myra's history, quiet echoes of lives lived before yours within these wooden walls. The rolled chart under the berth, with its small pencil crosses marking unknown locations. The old tin of letters, still unopened, tucked away in a hidden compartment near the bow, its contents a mystery you have not yet felt ready to unravel. And now, Serafina. It's a quiet discovery, not dramatic, but gently interesting. It adds another whisper to the boat's silent narrative, a thread you can feel yourself tugging at, however gently. Who was Serafina, and why was her name etched into the Myra's hull, almost as if in secret? The question hovers in the warm air, a soft query that settles beside you as you finish your tea. You think of Walter, his slow, knowing smile, his occasional quiet references to whoever was here before. He had never elaborated, merely offered those tantalizing hints, as if inviting you to discover the Myra's past for yourself in your own time. Had he known about Serafina, surely he must have. Walter, with his deep connection to this cove and everything in it, saw and knew more than he ever let on. The thought of Serafina lingers as you clean your dishes, rinsing them carefully in the small sink and placing them back in their rack. The water sloshes softly as you pump it, a rhythmic sound in the quiet cabin. Chester, now fully asleep, lets out a soft, almost inaudible snore. The oil lamp casts its steady glow, and the gentle rocking of the Myra against the dock continues its soothing lullaby. You extinguish the galley lamp, plunging the small cooking area into deeper shadow, and carry the main lamp to the bow, setting it on the small shelf beside your berth. The narrow space, with its built-in bookshelves and the soft bedding, beckons. You pull back the heavy woolen blanket, its familiar scent of lanolin and clean air a comforting presence. As you settle into your berth, the soft mattress yielding to your weight, you pull the blanket up to your chin. The rhythmic creak of the boat against the dock, the distant whisper of the wind in the pines on the headland, the gentle slap of water against the hull. These sounds are the very pulse of your world, the soundtrack to your sleep. Chester, with a soft stretch and a deep sigh, pads over from the stove and settles himself with a thump at the foot of your berth, his warm weight a familiar anchor. His purr begins again, a low, steady thrum against your feet. You gaze at the faint etching of the name, Serafina, on the hull, visible now in the soft glow of the lamp beside your head. The letters seem to hold a story, a secret waiting to be uncovered. Tomorrow, perhaps you'll ask Walter. Or perhaps you'll simply let the question drift, a quiet companion in the night, another gentle mystery to explore in the quiet drift of sleep. The lamp flickers once, a tiny dance of light and shadow, before settling into its steady glow. The soft sound of the water continues, pulling you deeper into the quietude of the cove, the embrace of the Myra, and the slow unfolding of another night. The last sliver of twilight has faded from the sky, taking with it the soft definition of the headland and the distant line of the sea. Now the cove is a bowl of deep, velvety darkness, interrupted only by the unwavering flame of the oil lamp within the Myra, casting a warm, buttery glow from her portholes. You notice how the light, though contained, seems to reach out, touching the nearest ripples of water with a shimmer of gold. The air, which held the memory of the day's warmth for a time, has begun to cool, carrying the sharp, clean scent of damp earth and the fainter, sweeter perfume of pine needles. You watch as the stars, one by one, prick through the inky canvas above, each a tiny, perfect diamond. Their reflections begin to appear on the surface of the cove, scattered like spilled glitter, trembling with every subtle movement of the water. It's a vast, silent mirror, holding the immensity of the cosmos in its small, sheltered embrace. The dark shape of the island across the cove is now an indistinct mass, a deeper shadow against the already profound night. You strain your eyes, trying to discern any hint of the light you thought you saw, but there is only the unbroken blackness, a gentle mystery holding its secrets. The sounds of the night begin to assert themselves. The Myra's wooden hull offers a soft, rhythmic creak, a sound like a gentle sigh as she settles against her mooring lines. The water, ever present, laps against the planks of the dock and whispers along the curve of the hull, a ceaseless, lulling murmur. It's a sound that has become as familiar as your own heartbeat, a constant companion in this quiet world. From the depths of the forest, a distant owl calls, its mournful hoot carrying clearly through the still air, a timeless echo in the vast wilderness. You hear the faint, high whistle of the wind in the rigging, a delicate, almost musical sound that speaks of the unseen currents moving high above the trees. And then a new softness begins to weave itself into the air, the subtle, cool touch of fog beginning to form, a thin veil slowly descending, promising to shroud the cove in a pearly embrace by morning. You find yourself drawn to the companionway, the impulse to step outside a quiet tug. Pushing back the hatch, you ascend the 3 steps, emerging onto the small foredeck. The cool night air meets your skin, a refreshing contrast to the warmth of the cabin. You breathe deeply, filling your lungs with the clean, salt-tinged air, sensing the subtle shift as the fog begins to thicken around you. Looking up, the stars are still visible, though their brilliance is beginning to soften, blurring at the edges as the mist rises from the water. You lean against the mast, feeling the cool, smooth wood beneath your hand. Chester, who had been curled in a tight ball on the folded sail cover, uncurls with a languid stretch, his green eyes reflecting the faint light from the cabin. He rubs against your leg with a soft purr, then settles back down, a warm, solid presence. You look out over the cove, the world narrowed to the familiar shapes of the dock, the dark trees, and the shimmering water. There's a profound stillness here, a sense of deep quiet that permeates everything. This stillness, you realize, is not an absence but a presence. It's a fullness, a rich tapestry woven from the sounds of water and wind, the scent of the forest, the cool touch of the air. It's the feeling of the Myra beneath your feet, a sturdy, faithful vessel holding you safe in this small, sheltered harbor. And in this moment, a quiet feeling stirs within you, a warmth spreading through your chest. It's not the sharp joy of discovery or the poignant ache of longing, but something deeper, more elemental. It is a profound sense of belonging. 2 years ago, you sailed into this cove, seeking something you couldn't quite name, a quiet refuge from a life that had grown too loud, too demanding. You found it here in the gentle rhythm of the tides, in the steadfast presence of the forest, in the quiet companionship of Walter and Chester. This life, pared down to its essentials, the warmth of the wood stove, the glow of an oil lamp, the taste of fresh-baked bread, the simple beauty of the natural world has become a sanctuary. You remember the feeling of the open sea, the vastness and the endless horizon, but there is a different kind of freedom in this stillness. It's the freedom to simply be asterisk. To wake with the sun, to listen to the rain on the deck, to watch the seasons turn in the patterns of the leaves and the changing light on the water. It's a life lived in harmony with the natural world, unburdened by the relentless pace of what lay beyond the channel. A gentle gratitude rises within you, a quiet acknowledgement for this quiet life you have chosen, for the way the light catches the dust motes dancing in the cabin, for the weight of Chester at your feet, for the kindness of Walter. For the Myra herself, a small, strong home that carries you through the days and nights. This feeling is like the steady flame of the oil lamp inside, a constant, comforting glow. It is not an escape, but an embrace. You are not running from something, but running to something, to this peace, this simplicity, this profound connection to the earth and sea. You wonder sometimes if you will ever truly leave this cove. The thought of sailing south, of new horizons and different shores, holds a quiet allure, a thread of future possibility. But tonight, standing on the deck, wrapped in the cool embrace of the fog and the soft murmur of the cove, that future feels distant, almost abstract. For now, this is enough, more than enough. This quiet drift, this steady presence, this unfolding of days in a world where time seems to slow, allowing each moment to be savored. The fog continues its gentle ascent, softening the edges of the world. The stars, once sharp and clear, are now veiled by a delicate haze, their light diffused into a soft luminescence. The dark shape of the island across the cove seems to recede further into the mist, becoming even more mysterious. You consider the light again, the fleeting glimmer you thought you saw. Was it real, or a trick of the deepening twilight, a figment of a mind attuned to the subtle shifts of this quiet world? The question lingers, a soft whisper at the edge of your thoughts. You decide that tomorrow perhaps you will ask Walter if he has ever seen a light on the island. Or perhaps, if the day is fair and the tide is right, you will take the dinghy yourself and row across the narrow stretch of water to see what secrets the island might hold. It's not an urgent quest, merely a gentle curiosity, a thread woven into the tapestry of the days. For now, the island remains a dark, silent presence, holding its counsel in the rising mist. You step back inside the cabin, pulling the hatch closed with a soft thud. The interior feels warm and sheltered after the coolness of the deck. Chester, with a final stretch, hops onto your berth, circling twice before settling at the foot, a soft purr rumbling in his chest. The oil lamp casts its steady glow, illuminating the familiar comfort of the small space. You sit on the edge of your berth, feeling the gentle rock of the Myra, the water a constant lullaby against the hull. The world outside, enveloped in fog and darkness, recedes, leaving only the warmth, the quiet, and the gentle rhythm of the boat. The soft glow of the oil lamp casts long, dancing shadows across the varnished teak, painting the cabin in shades of amber and sepia. You watch as Willow banks the fire in the cast iron stove, the gentle clink of the poker against the grate a small, comforting sound in the quiet of the evening. A rich, earthy scent of wood smoke begins to fill the air, mingling with the faint, briny fragrance of the sea that always seems to linger within the Myra's wooden heart. The warmth emanating from the stove slowly, steadily, permeates the small space, chasing away the last lingering chill of the day. You feel the cabin settle around you, a small, safe haven against the vastness of the darkening cove. Outside, the wind has softened to a mere whisper, a sigh through the rigging that is barely audible above the gentle lapping of water against the hull. Each tiny wave creates a soft, repetitive rhythm, a lullaby that has become as familiar as the beating of your own heart. Through the small, polished porthole above the galley, you can glimpse a sliver of the night sky, already pricked with the first shy stars. They twinkle with a cold, distant brilliance, a reminder of the immense, silent universe beyond this cozy enclosure. Willow moves with an unhurried grace, her movements economical and practiced. She retrieves a small wooden box from a shelf above her berth, its surface smooth and worn from countless touches. Inside, a collection of watercolors gleams softly in the lamplight, vibrant pigments nestled in their individual pans. She selects a small block of heavy paper, its texture inviting beneath her fingertips, and a slender brush with a finely pointed tip. There is no rush in her actions, no sense of urgency. Each step is deliberate, a small ritual of winding down. She sits at the small folding table, the lamp positioned just so, illuminating her hands as she dips the brush into a tiny ceramic dish of water. The water shimmers, reflecting the lamp's flame. With a delicate touch, she touches the brush to a pan of deep indigo, the color blooming on the bristles like a tiny, captured night sky. She begins to sketch, her hand moving with a quiet confidence, creating the faint outline of a familiar scene. It is the cove at twilight, the dark mass of the headland rising majestically against a sky streaked with the last vestiges of sunset. Chester, who had been curled in a tight ball on the narrow sleeping berth, stretches languidly, a low rumble beginning to vibrate in his chest. He hops down with a soft thud, padding silently across the small space of the cabin. He winds himself around Willow's ankles once, a soft brush of fur against her wool socks, before leaping onto the berth opposite her, settling himself at the foot of her folded legs. His purr deepens, a continuous, rumbling engine of contentment that seems to fill every corner of the Myra. It is a sound of pure, unadulterated peace, a constant, soothing presence. You watch as Willow adds a touch of pale lavender to the horizon line, blending it seamlessly into the indigo. Her brow is furrowed in soft concentration, her gaze fixed on the paper. The brush dances lightly, creating the illusion of distant mist clinging to the peaks of the old-growth forest. The air grows warmer still, the scent of burning wood growing more pronounced, a primal comfort that wraps around you like a soft blanket. The hours begin to drift by, unmeasured, unmarked. There is no clock ticking, no chime to announce the passage of time. Only the steady, rhythmic lapping of the water, the low hum of Chester's purr, and the occasional soft crackle from the stove. Willow paints, lost in the quiet world of color and form. Sometimes she pauses, her gaze drifting through the porthole, or simply resting on the flickering flame of the oil lamp. Her movements become even slower, more deliberate, as if she is easing herself into the deep, unhurried rhythm of the night. You notice the way the lamplight catches the fine dust motes dancing in the air, tiny specks of light suspended in the golden glow. The air is still, save for the gentle sway of the boat, a subtle rocking motion that is barely perceptible but ever present. It is the feeling of being cradled, of being held in the embrace of the water. A faint, almost imperceptible sound drifts in from outside. It's too soft to identify, perhaps the distant cry of a night bird, or the rustle of leaves on the headland as some unseen creature moves through the undergrowth. It is not an intrusive sound, but rather a part of the larger symphony of the night, a gentle reminder that life continues in the darkness beyond the Myra's warm glow. Willow sets her brush down for a moment, letting her gaze rest on the finished watercolor. The cove, serene and mystical in the twilight, seems to hold a quiet secret within its painted depths. She turns the paper slightly, examining it from different angles, a small, soft smile playing on her lips. There is a sense of quiet satisfaction in her expression, a peaceful contentment that radiates outwards. As she gathers her paints, carefully placing each tube and brush back into the wooden box, a fleeting thought seems to cross her mind. It is not an urgent thought, but one that surfaces gently, like a leaf floating to the surface of still water. You recall the way Walter had spoken this morning, his voice low and thoughtful, as Willow had stood on the dock, mending a tear in the dinghy's sail. He had been looking out towards the island, his gaze distant, and had murmured something about whoever was here before, a quiet, almost wistful tone in his voice. He hadn't elaborated, and Willow hadn't pressed him, but the words, unbidden, now returned to her, echoing softly in the quiet of the cabin. What was it about the island that prompted such a phrase from Walter? And who exactly was here before? The question is not alarming, but rather a quiet thread of curiosity, a soft inquiry that settles at the back of her mind. She remembers the fleeting light she thought she saw on the island a few nights ago, a faint flicker that had appeared and then vanished into the darkness. It had been so brief, so indistinct, that she had almost dismissed it as a trick of the light, a reflection from the distant stars. But now, coupled with Walter's enigmatic words, it takes on a different hue, a quiet possibility. She doesn't dwell on it. There is no urge to solve the mystery tonight, no need to seek answers in the darkness. The questions simply exist, a soft hum beneath the surface of the peaceful evening. They are gentle companions in the quiet, a part of the rich tapestry of this solitary life. The silence of the cove, the steady rocking of the boat, the warmth of the fire, and Chester's deep purr are enough, more than enough. Willow puts away her painting supplies, the wooden box settling back onto its shelf with a soft thud. She rises, stretching her arms above her head, a slow, languid movement that speaks of deep relaxation. The oil lamp casts her silhouette against the cabin wall, a graceful, elongated shadow. She walks to the small, round porthole nearest the bow, peering out into the velvet blackness. The stars are now a dazzling spectacle, a million tiny diamonds scattered across the vast canvas of the night sky. The air is crisp and clean, carrying the invigorating scent of pine and salt. The sound of the water is clearer here, a soft, insistent whisper against the bow. She can just make out the dark, indistinct outline of the island, a darker smudge against the star-strewn horizon. There is no light there tonight, no flicker to catch her eye, only the deep, impenetrable shadow of the trees. She stands there for a long moment, simply breathing in the night air, letting the immense quiet of the cove wash over her. There is a profound sense of gratitude that wells up within her, a warm, soft feeling that fills her chest. Gratitude for this small, sheltered world, for the Myra, for Chester, for Walter's quiet kindness. For the simple, unadorned beauty of this life, where the greatest luxuries are silence and the steady rhythm of the natural world. The quiet question of Walter's words and the fleeting light on the island remains. It is not a burden but a gentle companion, a quiet thread weaving its way through the fabric of her thoughts. She will ask Walter about it, perhaps tomorrow or the day after. Or perhaps she will simply let the question linger, a soft, unresolved note in the symphony of her days. There is no hurry. The answers, if they are meant to be found, will reveal themselves in their own time, in their own quiet way. For now, the deep, peaceful stillness of the night is everything. The world outside the Myra's warm cabin is vast and mysterious, but within these wooden walls, there is only peace. The deep night settles, a soft blanket woven from silence and shadow, gradually pulling itself over the cove. A profound stillness descends, not an absence of sound, but a deepening, a broadening of the world's quiet breath. The air itself seems to thicken, heavy with the scent of damp earth and distant pine, carrying the faint, briny tang of the sea. You watch as the last sliver of twilight fades from the western sky, leaving behind a canvas of inky black, dotted with the sharp, cold pinpricks of emerging stars. A low mist begins to unspool itself from the shoreline, a delicate, ethereal ribbon that dances just above the water's surface. It catches the faint glow from the Myra's small oil lamp, softening the edges of the dinghy tide alongside, blurring the distinct lines of the forested headland. The fog whispers across the dark water, a silent, slow drift that seems to possess a will of its own, reaching out with cool, damp fingers to embrace the hull of the Myra. Inside the cabin, the sounds become more intimate, more internal. The gentle lapping of the water against the wooden hull, a soft, rhythmic lullaby, rises in prominence, growing clearer as the outside world retreats into its quietude. The Myra herself seems to sigh, a low, almost imperceptible creak of timber as she settles deeper into the calm embrace of the cove. It's the sound of a living thing, a wooden heart beating a slow, steady rhythm in the deep night. You stand by the small cast iron stove, the radiant warmth a comforting presence against the cool dampness that has begun to seep into the air. With a small, curved poker, you gently bank the remaining embers, coaxing them into a deeper, slower burn that will hold through the night. A few larger pieces of seasoned fir are carefully placed atop the glowing coals, ensuring a lingering warmth for the pre-dawn hours. The faint smell of wood smoke, sweet and resinous, drifts through the small cabin, mingling with the salt air from the open hatch. The fire, now a muted internal glow behind the small glass door, casts flickering shadows that dance across the varnished teak bulkheads. The oil lamp, turned low, provides a soft, golden pool of light, illuminating the small galley and the narrow passage to the bow berth. The copper pots hanging above the stove gleam with a warm, dull luster, reflecting the light in miniature, distorted images. Willow moves with an unhurried grace, her actions deliberate and measured. She rinses the last of the ceramic dishes with their small blue flowers, the gentle clinking sound almost swallowed by the larger quiet. The water poured from a small pitcher splashes softly into the basin, then drains with a quiet gurgle. Each movement is a small ritual, a tender winding down of the day. She takes a moment to secure the small propane galley, turning the valve with a soft click, the faint scent of gas quickly dissipating. The folding table, where she had read earlier in the evening, is carefully wiped down with a damp cloth, then folded and stowed against the bulkhead, creating more space in the already compact cabin. The book she had been reading, its cover worn and soft from many hands, is placed on a small shelf near the berth, ready for tomorrow's quiet moments. Chester, who had been curled in a tight ball on the small bench beside the stove, stretches languidly, a long, slow extension of his orange body. He yawns, revealing a flash of pink tongue, then gives a soft, rumbling purr. He walks with a deliberate, confident air, his tail held high, his movements silent on the wooden sole. He knows the rhythm of this boat, the cadence of these quiet nights. As Willow makes her way towards the bow, you watch him settle himself at the very foot of the narrow berth, a familiar and comforting weight. He circles twice, kneading the woolen blanket with his paws, before collapsing with a soft thud, his breathing quickly settling into a deep, even rhythm. A small, contented sigh escapes him, almost inaudible above the gentle lapping of the water. Willow slides into the berth, the worn mattress yielding softly beneath her. The blanket, thick and warm, is drawn up to her chin, its familiar weight a soothing presence. The air in the berth is slightly cooler than the main cabin, a crisp freshness that carries the faint scent of salt and canvas. She adjusts the small pillow, its linen cover cool against her cheek. With a quiet sigh, she reaches for the oil lamp, its brass hook gleaming softly in the dim light. Her fingers are practiced, her movements sure. She turns the small brass knob, and the flame, which had been burning with a gentle, steady glow, narrows, shrinks, and then winks out, plunging the small berth into near-complete darkness. Only the faintest sliver of light from the companionway, where the banked fire still offers its quiet warmth, filters into the space. The darkness is not absolute, though. Your eyes, accustomed to the low light, begin to discern the soft outlines of the cabin. The curve of the hull, the shadowy shapes of the bookshelves, the narrow opening of the hatch above. The world narrows, drawing in close, becoming the intimate, sheltering space of the Myra. Now only the sounds remain, magnified and clarified in the deep quiet. The rhythmic pulse of the water against the hull, a ceaseless, hypnotic beat. The almost inaudible creak of the rudder post, a whisper of wood against wood. The soft, deep purr of Chester, a low vibration that resonates through the mattress, a living connection to the quiet world. You feel the gentle, almost imperceptible sway of the boat, a slow, rocking motion that mirrors the natural rhythm of breath. It is a subtle cradle, holding you in its embrace. The air, cool and fresh, breathes through the small opening of the hatch, carrying with it the faint, unmistakable scent of the salt sea and the ancient, damp forest. A feeling of profound peace settles over you, a deep, unhurried calm that seems to seep into your very bones. The day's quiet discoveries, the particular quality of the morning light, the taste of the wild berries, the way Walter had paused before answering, all fold themselves away, becoming soft, warm memories. The question of the light on the island, the gentle mystery of it, remains, a small, luminous thread woven into the fabric of the night, a quiet promise for the morning. It is not an urgent question, but a soft, intriguing thought, something to be carried lightly into the quietude of sleep. The world outside the Myra has become a canvas of velvety black, pierced only by the distant, cold gleam of the stars, and perhaps, if you were to open your eyes again, the faint, shimmering glow of the fog on the water. But now even that begins to recede, blurred at the edges of your awareness. The sounds continue, but they too soften, becoming indistinct, melting into the deeper silence. The lapping water, Chester's steady purr, the subtle creak of the wood, they are no longer distinct entities, but components of a single, encompassing hum, a vibrational tapestry woven from the elements of the cove and the heart of the Myra. You are held in this space, a small, warm pocket of quietude in the vastness of the deep night. The weight of the blanket, the curve of the hull, the silent presence of Chester at your feet, all conspire to create a profound sense of security, of being exactly where you are meant to be. The edges of thought begin to fray, dissolving into a gentle, unresisting surrender. The breath deepens, slowing to a whisper, mirroring the quiet drift of the fog outside, the slow, rhythmic pulse of the sea. The world narrows further, focusing on the simple, primal sensations of warmth, softness, and the unwavering rhythm of the water. The warmth of the wool blanket settles over you, a familiar weight that cradles you in the narrow berth. You feel its soft texture against your cheek, the gentle friction as you shift, finding that perfect space between alertness and slumber. The scent of wood smoke, faint and lingering, still clings to the air, a memory of the day's fire, a promise of warmth in the cool night. It mingles with the subtle, clean scent of the salt air that drifts in through the small open hatch, a breath of the vast ocean just beyond the cove. Chester, a comfortable weight at your feet, begins to purr. It is a low, resonant rumble that vibrates through the mattress, a steady rhythm that anchors you to the present moment. You can feel the rise and fall of his small body, the soft fur beneath your toes, a silent companionship that fills the small space with quiet life. The last flicker of the oil lamp casts long, dancing shadows across the varnished teak, painting the cabin walls with ephemeral shapes, until with a final sigh, the flame diminishes to a mere glow, then fades entirely, plunging the cabin into a soft, deep darkness. Now only the sounds remain, the gentle, incessant lapping of water against the Myra's wooden hull, a soft whisper that murmurs just beneath your ear. It is the heartbeat of the cove, a lullaby woven from the sea's ancient song. Each tiny wave, each ripple, tells a story of distant shores, of the endless motion of the ocean, yet here in this sheltered berth it speaks only of peace. The rigging outside hums a low, almost imperceptible tune in the lightest breeze, a thread of sound connecting you to the world above, to the stars that are now beginning to prick through the darkness, unseen but felt. The world outside narrows, retreats, until only the immediate space of the berth remains. You feel the slight, almost imperceptible rock of the Myra, a gentle sway that mimics the deepest comfort of a cradle. It is a motion so subtle, so ingrained, that it has become part of your own breathing, a silent agreement between you and the sea. The warmth of the blanket deepens, wrapping you in a cocoon of quiet and stillness. The purr of Chester continues, a soft engine of contentment, a steady pulse in the quiet. You listen to the sound of your own breath, slow and even, a testament to the peace that has settled over you. The wood of the hull whispers its secrets, tiny creaks and groans that are not unsettling, but rather comforting, the voice of the boat itself, settling into sleep alongside you. Each sound, each sensation is a thread, weaving a tapestry of rest, drawing you deeper and deeper into the quietude of the night. The darkness feels thick and soft, like velvet pressing gently around you. It holds you, cradles you, a blanket for your eyes, for your thoughts. The air is cool on your face, but the warmth beneath the blanket is absolute, a haven against the encroaching chill of the late spring night. You feel the subtle shift in temperature as the hours advance, a natural rhythm of the world outside, but inside, within the Myra's embrace, the warmth persists, a steady comfort. The rhythmic lapping of the water against the hull becomes more distant, more dreamlike, a sound that is both there and not there, a whisper at the edge of hearing. It is a sound that has accompanied you for so long, a constant companion, that it has become indistinguishable from the silence itself. It is the sound of time passing, of the world continuing its gentle, unhurried turning, even as you drift. Chester's purr softens, loses its earlier intensity, becoming a faint, almost subliminal vibration. He is sinking deeper into his own feline dreams, his warmth a steady, immovable presence at your feet. You feel the weight of him, a small, trusting anchor in the darkness. His breathing, now as deep and even as your own, harmonizes with the gentle sway of the boat, with the distant murmur of the water. Your thoughts, once clear and defined, begin to soften at their edges, blurring into indistinct shapes. Images from the day drift through your mind, not as solid memories, but as fleeting impressions. The feel of the path beneath your boots, the scent of the pine needles, the way the light fell through the canopy of the trees, Walter's quiet smile, the warmth of his mug in your hands, the way he paused before he spoke. These are not questions or concerns, but simply echoes, gentle reverberations of a day well spent. The cabin seems to expand and contract with each breath, a living, breathing space that holds you. The varnished teak walls, no longer visible, are felt as a boundary, a protective shell. The curves of the hull, the low ceiling, the narrowness of the berth, all conspire to create a feeling of being utterly contained, utterly safe. There is nothing beyond this space, nothing but the quiet dark, the gentle sounds, and the profound peace. The distant whisper of the rigging, the almost sound of the breeze, fades in and out, a gentle suggestion of the world beyond the cove. It is a reminder that the world continues, vibrant and alive, even as you retreat into the stillness of sleep. But here, in this small wooden shell, that world feels far away, irrelevant. Only the immediate, the tactile, the softest sounds hold sway. The blanket feels heavier now, a deeper embrace, a deeper warmth. It is as if the very air around you has thickened, become more substantial, more nurturing. You are sinking, not falling, but settling, a slow descent into softness, into the core of quiet. The gentle rock of the Myra becomes more pronounced in your awareness, a steady, hypnotic rhythm that pulls you further down, further in. The images from the day return, even softer now, like wisps of smoke, dissolving as quickly as they form. The delicate curve of a fern frond, unfurling in the damp forest. The glint of sun on the water, a brief, dazzling flash. The subtle taste of the tea, warm and earthy. Each impression is fleeting, a last offering from the waking world before it dissolves into the vastness of night. The feeling of being held, of being cradled by the boat, by the darkness, by the quiet deepens. It is a sensation of profound security, of absolute belonging. There is nowhere else you need to be, nothing else you need to do. Only this moment, this stillness, this slow, inevitable drift towards sleep. The rhythm of your breath, the rhythm of the boat, the rhythm of Chester's soft purr, all become one, a single, harmonious note in the vast symphony of the night. The memory of the light on the island, a small, persistent thought, drifts through your mind. Not a question that demands an answer, but a gentle curiosity, a soft thread of wonder. You imagine the dark shape of the island, shrouded in trees, and wonder what might have caused that brief, fleeting glow. Perhaps it was just a trick of the mist, or a reflection, or perhaps something else. The thought is not urgent, not demanding, but a quiet companion as the edges of consciousness blur, a gentle question you carry with you into the softest realms of sleep, a quiet promise that tomorrow, perhaps, you might just row out and see.
This is the end of today's episode. Did you listen to the whole story? Share your experience in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to The Quiet Drift. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then.